Hey everyone, just a quick reminder. Only about 25% of you watching are subscribed to the channel. If you're enjoying the content, hitting that subscribe button would really help the channel grow. And while you're at it, smash that like button too. It helps a ton, and lets me know you're enjoying the content. Thanks for being here, and let's dive into the story. When I took the night security job at NASA, I expected long, boring shifts watching over a bunch of retired space junk. I mean, how hard could it be? Walk around, check a few security monitors, maybe pretend I know what half the buttons in the control room do. I was wrong. On my first night, my supervisor, Earl, handed me a list of rules. 1. Do not enter hangar 4 after 2 a.m. If you hear knocking from inside a shuttle, keep walking. 2. If you see an astronaut in a suit, ask for their badge. If they don't have one, do not engage. 3. If mission control contacts you, do not answer. That frequency has been offline for years. 4. The shuttles should always be empty. If you hear breathing inside, evacuate immediately. 5. If the countdown clock in Bay 2 starts running, leave the building. There is no launch scheduled. I chuckled. Man, you guys really commit to the bit, huh? Earl didn't laugh. He just looked at me and said, "Clock in at 10, clock out at 6, and follow the rules." I should have quit right then. The facility was dead silent. The kind of silence that makes you feel like something is listening. Most of the hangars were just massive storage units holding old shuttles and equipment from the Apollo and Space Shuttle eras. These things hadn't been operational in decades. Some were practically museum pieces. As I walked past Hangar 4, I checked the steel door. Locked. But then I swear to God, I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. Slow, rhythmic, from the inside. I froze. The rule popped into my head. If you hear knocking from inside a shuttle, keep walking. I did just that. Fast. I was checking security cameras when I saw him. A man in a full NASA EVA suit, helmet, gloves, the whole thing, standing near Bay 2. At first I assumed it was a prank. Some engineer screwing around. But then I remembered. Nobody else was scheduled to be here tonight. I grabbed my flashlight and headed to Bay 2. "Hey man," I called out. "You lost or something?" No response. As I got closer, I realized something was wrong. The suit was old, like Apollo era old. Yellowed patches, scratched visor, even dusty moon boots. The rule echoed in my head. If you see an astronaut, ask for their badge. If they don't have one, do not engage. I swallowed. "You got an ID badge, buddy." Silence. Then, he moved. Not like a normal person. Not like someone inside a suit. It was stiff, like a puppet being pulled by invisible strings. I backed away, my heart hammering. He turned his helmet toward me. The visor was cracked. And inside, there was nothing. Just black, empty space. I ran. Back at the security desk, I tried to calm down. Maybe it was a trick of the light. Maybe it was a leftover suit propped up on a stand. Yeah. Sure. Then the radio crackled to life. "Control to hangar. Do you copy?" I grabbed the receiver instinctively. "Yeah, this is..." Then I froze. The rule. If mission control contacts you, do not answer. But I had already answered. Static buzzed in my ear. Then, a voice. Deep. Distorted. Wrong. "Return to your station. The launch is scheduled." My stomach dropped. "There's no launch," I whispered. A pause. Then, over the static, I heard it. Breathing. Slow. Heavy. Like something wearing a helmet. I slammed the radio down. I was done. I was quitting first thing in the morning. Then I glanced at the security monitors, and my blood ran cold. One of the screens showed Bay 2. The countdown clock was running. 10, 9, 8. My breath caught in my throat. There were no scheduled launches. 4, 3. I grabbed my keys. I was getting the hell out of there. 2. Then, on the screen, the astronaut was standing inside the shuttle. 1. The screen went black. I bolted from my security desk. I didn't care if I was fired. I wasn't about to wait around for whatever that astronaut thing was to come find me. But as I sprinted down the hallway, the building shook. Not a little tremor. I mean a full-on glass-rattling, floor-vibrating earthquake. I grabbed the nearest wall, trying not to fall, as a deep rumbling sound filled the air. It sounded like a launch. I took the back route to Bay 2, my heart pounding in my throat. The entire time I was praying the countdown clock had been some glitch. But when I stepped into the hangar, the shuttle, the one that had been decommissioned for decades, was gone. My stomach twisted. That thing wasn't supposed to move. It was basically a museum piece. But the burn marks on the floor told a different story. They were fresh, like something had just launched. I turned toward the security console near the hangar doors, fingers shaking as I scrolled through the logs. Status. Success. I gritted my teeth. Nope, not happening. No shuttle should be taking off on its own. Then I heard it. The knocking, coming from inside the empty hangar. I whipped around, scanning the massive room. There was nothing there. Just burn marks on the floor. But the knocking sound kept going. Knock, knock, knock. Like someone was still in the shuttle. Except the shuttle was gone. Then my radio crackled. At first, it was just static. Then a voice whispered, "You shouldn't have let us leave." My blood ran cold. The radio went dead. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the hangar. A deep mechanical warning voice filled the air. "Warning! Airlock breach! External pressure dropping!" I felt a gust of cold air rush past me. That's when I noticed it. A door at the far end of the hangar, slightly open. The exterior door. I swallowed hard. There were two problems with that. That door was supposed to stay sealed unless there was a scheduled launch. There was nothing on the other side but the open sky. I took a cautious step forward. The temperature dropped another 10 degrees. Then, through the cracked door, I saw it. A gloved hand, fingers curling around the edge of the airlock. I froze. The hand twitched, then gripped the metal frame like something was pulling itself back inside. Slowly, a helmeted head leaned into view. The same cracked visor, the same dust-covered suit. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. But I couldn't move. Then, the helmet tilted slightly, like it was watching me. My radio crackled again. "Help us." The voice was inside my helmet. Except, I wasn't wearing a helmet. That's when I realized the voice wasn't coming from my radio. It was inside my head. The astronaut took a step forward. I swear to God there was nothing inside that helmet, just blackness. A hollow, endless void. Then it took another step. The whole room tilted, my vision blurred. It felt like the floor had dropped out from under me, like I was suddenly floating. That's when I understood. This wasn't an astronaut, this wasn't a person. It was something else. Something that came back from space, but never left. And it wanted to take me with it. I don't know how, but my legs finally listened to my brain. I stumbled backward, slamming my hand onto the security panel. Manual override, airlock, seal engaged. The door slammed shut. For a moment, there was nothing but the hum of the airlock pressurizing. Then, knock, knock, knock. I turned and ran. Back at my security desk, my hands were shaking too hard to type a report. Then, my email dinged. I almost didn't check it. I figured it was some NASA corporate memo about recent technical anomalies or some nonsense. But when I opened it, there was only one line of text. They are still up there. The sender? My own email. I stared at the email on my screen, my fingers frozen over the keyboard. They are still up there. Sent from my own email account. My stomach twisted. I hadn't typed that. I hadn't sent that. Yet, there it was. Then, before I could react, the cursor moved on its own, right in front of my eyes. It typed, "Don't let them back in." I pushed away from my desk, my heart pounding like a drum solo. The security cameras were still up, cycling through different angles of the facility. I switched to Bay 2. The shuttle was back. What? I leaned in, eyes wide. I had just seen that thing launch. I had seen the burn marks on the floor, felt the building shake from the force of it. So how was it just sitting there, like it had never left? A chill crawled up my spine. Then, the shuttle's door creaked open. I zoomed in on the security feed. At first, I didn't see anything, just the dark, hollow interior of the shuttle. Then, something moved. A figure floated out. It wasn't walking. It wasn't climbing down. It was just drifting. Like there was zero gravity inside the hangar, and it was coming toward the camera. A new message flashed across the screen. System alert. Unauthorized. Re-entry detected. Re-entry? I didn't even have time to process what that meant before my radio crackled again. Mission control to hangar. Do you copy? I yanked my radio out of its holster and threw it across the room. The rule screamed in my head. If mission control contacts you, do not answer. I wasn't making that mistake twice. But then, a new alert popped up. Door override in progress. Pressurization sequence failed. I spun back to the cameras. The shuttle's airlock was wide open now, and something was coming out. The figure in the old Apollo suit was standing just inside the shuttle, watching me. Then, it took a step forward. It was moving wrong. Like, it wasn't just walking, it was being dragged by something inside the suit. My vision blurred for a second, and I swore the walls of the hangar warped, just for a moment, like I was looking at a bad transmission. Then my phone buzzed. A text. From an unknown number. Get out. I grabbed my keys and bolted for the exit. I was done. I didn't care if NASA fired me. I didn't care if I got blacklisted from every security job on the planet. I was leaving. But as I hit the stairwell, the alarm started again. And over the loudspeakers, a voice I didn't recognize spoke. Launch sequence reactivated, T-minus 10 minutes. No. There was no launch scheduled. I knew that. There was nothing in that shuttle anymore. Nothing that was supposed to be there anyway. And whatever had come back wasn't human. I sprinted down the main hallway, heading for the emergency exit. But when I turned the corner, there was another door. A massive steel hatch built into the side of the hallway, like something from a space station. It wasn't there before. A small window was set into the center of it. I don't know why I looked, but I did. And on the other side of the glass, there was space. Not a hallway. Not another room. Just an endless black void. And in the distance, a figure in a spacesuit was floating toward the window. Their visor was shattered, and their mouth was moving, like they were screaming. I stumbled backward, my head spinning. Then my radio clicked on. Static. Then, a voice. You shouldn't have let them back in. The same words from my own email. The same warning. Then, another voice joined it. Ragged. Hollow. Not human. It's not your station anymore. The feed cut out, and the last thing I heard before the system shut down entirely was the countdown. T-minus 5 minutes. The countdown kept ticking down over the intercom. T-minus 5 minutes. I was running out of time. I didn't know what would happen when it hit 0, but I sure as hell wasn't sticking around to find out. I turned and bolted down the hallway, away from that impossible door to space, away from the thing in the suit, away from the whispering voices in my radio. I was getting out of here. Now I sprinted toward the emergency exit. At least, I thought I did. But the hallway kept going. No matter how fast I ran, the red exit sign never got closer. The walls seemed to stretch, the fluorescent lights buzzing louder, flickering like I was stuck inside a broken transmission. My breathing turned ragged. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. Then, a new voice crackled over the intercom. Crew member detected. Prepare for boarding. I froze. My name was scrolling across the security monitors. Crew member, James L. confirmed. Please report to Launch Bay. The walls shuddered. A deep metallic groan echoed through the air, like something was shifting within the structure. Then, from the speakers, a voice that sounded like mine spoke. James, report to the shuttle. I turned back toward the security cameras. The shuttle's ramp was down now, and at the base of it, something was waiting. An astronaut, the same one I had seen earlier. Helmet cracked, suit old, yellowed with time. But now I saw something new. The visor was open, and inside, there was nothing. No face, no flesh, just a dark, empty void. But when the thing spoke again, it used my voice. It's time to go, James. I felt something pulling me forward. Like an unseen gravity well was dragging me toward the shuttle, my body fighting against itself. I gritted my teeth, trying to resist. Then, on the wall beside me, something burned into the metal, like a message being seared from the inside out. 4 words. Do not get on. It looked like it had been there for years, like someone else had been here before me, and they had left this final warning. The walls warped again. I was standing in the shuttle now. I didn't remember moving. The air felt wrong, thin, cold, like I wasn't in the hangar anymore. Then I heard it. Breathing. Not my own. Slow, shaky inhalations, like someone else was inside the suit with me. I reached up to touch my face, but my fingers hit glass. My heart stopped. I wasn't wearing a helmet before. I yanked at it, trying to pull it off, but it wouldn't budge. I wasn't in the security hall anymore. I was inside the shuttle, and outside the window, there was nothing but space. The shuttle wasn't empty. There were 3 other astronauts strapped into the seats, all wearing old Apollo-era suits, but their helmets were filled with black voids. The moment I saw them, their heads snapped toward me. One of them reached out. My radio crackled. Welcome aboard, crew member James. The shuttle door began to seal. I lunged for the controls, desperately slamming my fist against the emergency override. Nothing happened. The countdown voice continued. T-1 minute. I was losing time. Then from my radio, a new voice whispered, Don't let them take you. The screen in front of me flickered, and suddenly, I was looking at a live feed of myself, sitting in the cockpit, helmet on, breathing slow. Like I had already been here before. Like this had already happened. My chest tightened. I could feel myself slipping. Like my body was melting into the seat, becoming part of the shuttle itself. Like I was meant to be here. I saw my reflection in the glass panel above the control deck, and staring back at me was a helmet filled with black void. The intercom buzzed. One final message. Prepare for departure. T-30 seconds. The voice over the intercom was calm, like this was routine. Like I was meant to be here. I was strapped into the shuttle cockpit, my body refusing to move. My hands, my own hands, were gripping the controls like they belonged there. Like they had always belonged there. The other astronauts sat around me, still as statues. But I knew they were watching. Their helmets were hollow, filled with nothing but deep, endless black. And when they breathed, the sound was inside my own helmet. T-20 seconds. The radio crackled. A new voice. Faint, distant, familiar. James, can you hear me? My breath caught in my throat. It was me. I was hearing myself. I struggled against the harness, tried to rip the helmet off, but it wouldn't budge. T-10 seconds. Then, the figure in the co-pilot's seat finally moved. Its head snapped toward me, and for the first time, I saw its face, and it was mine. My vision warped. The walls of the shuttle stretched, the instruments glitching in and out of focus. The voice in my radio whispered, "You were never supposed to leave." A memory, no, a flood of memories, rushed into my head. Not from tonight, from before. Before I was James the security guard. Before I ever took the night shift at NASA. I had been here before. I had been one of them, an astronaut, one of the lost crew members. I had left on this shuttle decades ago, and I had never come back. Until now. T-minus 5 seconds. I felt it happening, my body fading, my mind unraveling. The shuttle was taking me back, taking me where I belonged. I looked up at the cockpit window. Outside, past the launch bay doors, there was nothing but space. A black hole of emptiness, stretching in every direction. A place I had been before. A place I was never meant to leave. T-minus 3 seconds. I made my choice. With the last strength I had left, I wrenched my hand free and smashed the emergency override button. A siren blared. The shuttle jerked violently, the engine sputtering. The harness snapped free. I was falling, out of the seat, out of the shuttle. Back, back, back. I hit the ground hard, concrete, cold, solid. I gasped, my lungs desperate for air. I wasn't in the shuttle anymore. I was lying on the floor of Hangar 4. Everything was normal. No countdown, no launch. The shuttle was right where it had always been. Silent, dark, unmoved, like none of it ever happened. I staggered to my feet. My radio was on the floor. It crackled. A voice whispered through the static. "We are still up here." I picked up the radio with shaking hands. The transmission repeated. Over, and over, and over. "We are still up here." The voices of the lost crew. I backed away, then I noticed something on my wrist. A patch of fabric, dark blue, NASA insignia. It was part of a spacesuit. My stomach dropped. I was wearing my security uniform. So where the hell had this piece of the suit come from? I turned back to the shuttle one last time. The cockpit window was fogged over from the inside, and as I watched, a handprint appeared. The same handprint I had left there decades ago. Still fresh, like I had never left at all. I didn't write a report. I didn't clock out. I just walked out the front door, got into my car, and never looked back. NASA called me the next morning. I didn't answer. The email was still in my inbox. They are still up there. I deleted it, but I know the truth now. The shuttle never launched itself, because it never came back. And someday, it'll be my turn to go back too. I just don't know when.